up, guys? Eli here, back for a new stuff video. All music today. All three formats, oddly enough. So some pretty cool stuff in here. A pretty, I guess you could say, typical mixture for the stuff that I like and the stuff that I show. But there's some stuff in here that I've actually been wanting to get for a long time, and just overall good shit. So let's check it out. So I think we'll start off with the vinyl. Got 3 vinyl records here. We're going to start off with this kind of oddity. 1982, same year that this movie came out. And it's funny that I bought this because, anyways, I'll get into it in a minute. But what we have here is not the Blade Runner soundtrack, which I'm a big fan of. The Blade Runner soundtrack, probably my favorite soundtrack of all time. Composed by Vangelis, R.I.P. It's fucking masterful. It's amazing. I could listen to it every day, and I probably should. So this is, as you can see on the front, this is the soundtrack, orchestral adaptation of music composed for the motion picture by Vangelis, performed by the New American Orchestra, who I don't know who the fuck that is, nor do I care. So I bought this, like I said, I'm just a big Blade Runner fan, big Vangelis fan, big Blade Runner soundtrack fan. So I saw this and I was like, I gotta have it. But now that I have it, I don't want to listen to it. I mean, I'm sure I will. I'm not super into classical music anyways, and I don't know, man. I grabbed this, and now I'm just like, every time I even look at this, I just want to hear the Vangelis soundtrack. So I have little to no motivation at all to listen to this, but I don't know. It looks cool, and yeah, it's a cool thing to have, I guess. I gotta at least give it a shot one of these days. But yeah, any of you guys heard this? I don't know. I didn't even know it existed. So. And then I have from 1978, speaking of Vangelis, I have his 9th album, Boborg, I guess you would call that. 9th album in 78. So he started putting out solo records in 1970. So in 8 years, he had 9 albums. He was very consistent in the 70s and really in the 80s. And honestly, I think he was consistent most of his career, if not the whole thing. So I haven't listened to this one yet, but this, from what I can see, this still kind of is in the spirit of his early albums, of like his first few, really. There are 2 songs on here. There's 1 song per side, which is something that he did like on Heaven and Hell, and that's a very early Vangelis move. Yeah, so it's got Boborg Part 1 and Boborg Part 2, both clocking in at around 20 minutes apiece. So, and you guys heard this. I've heard most of Vangelis' 70s stuff. Like I've said before, he died recently. And I didn't just start buying his albums after he died. I've actually been a fan for a while. I wouldn't say a long time, but I would say probably 10 years or so. I think it was ever since I heard, I think it was after that, that amazing 666 album he did with his first band, Aphrodite's Child. I think that was definitely the first thing that I heard of his. Obviously, I've been a fan of the Blade Runner movie for a long time, but I didn't really know anything about the soundtrack. But he's got an immense catalog, and I've just been working on picking up. Anytime I see a Vangelis release, I pick it up. And as far as like electronic music and stuff, he is definitely my favorite artist. And third and last vinyl I'll be showing today is a band that is very, very dear to my heart, as it is for a lot of you guys. I got into this band via the first album, not when the first album came out, because I'm not old enough, but I started with the first album, and honestly, this is one of the bands that I'm pretty sure I unintentionally heard this chronologically. We're talking about the 4th album from 1979, Rainbow, Down to Earth. This is one of the very few Rainbow albums I didn't own. I'm happy to have it. Thank you, Scott Spencer, for making this available to me. This is a promotional copy. It's got the promotional stamp on the back. So this album is known for a couple of things. I'll just say right now, this is probably my favorite non-Dio Rainbow album. And in fact, these days, not always, but these days, I might prefer this to the debut. I know that's sacrilege, but dude, so you got Graham Bonnet singing on this album. I'm a big Graham Bonnet fan, probably one of my favorite rock and metal singers. He's amazing, hugely fucking underrated. This is the only album he did with Rainbow. So So he came and went pretty quick. This is also the first album to have Don Airey on keyboards. Don Airey has been in Deep Purple now for, 30 years or something like that. He's been in Deep Purple a long time. He replaced, what's his name, the Deep Purple keyboard player. Famous guy. Anyways, moving on. And this is also the first album to have Roger Glover on bass. Roger Glover also known for being in Deep Purple. I mean, Rainbow was always like Deep Purple's like little brother, which I always thought was really cool. You had like Rainbow, you had Deep Purple, you had Black Sabbath, and you had even Yngwie Malmsteen. And I would add another one in there, and I would say Alcatraz. And those bands would just kind of borrow members and bounce them back and forth, and it's awesome. I love it. So yeah, Rainbow. If you haven't heard this, man, if you're only open to the Dio albums, pull your head out of your ass, and all Rainbow albums are good, man. Joe Lynn Turner albums are killer as well. I think with Rainbow you can't you can't go wrong. Even the last, what was that, that album he did in the 90s is pretty damn good too. I don't own that one. I think that's actually the last Rainbow album I need to round out the collection, and I have not spent a lot of time with that, but I like it. I've heard it a couple times. I think it's pretty fucking good. So Rainbow, Down Earth, get it. Then I have one cassette tape. As much as I like tapes, I don't buy them a lot these days, but yeah, I still love picking them up here and there. And it depends on the band, really, but yeah, some bands I like to buy on tape, like Ruin. I like Ruin tapes. Anyways, we're talking about the new 2022 release. I've got a couple 2022 releases here, but talking about Omenfilth with Possessed by the Pentacle Spell, released on Eternal Death Productions. I've been championing this band for a while. They're pretty underrated. I mean, I've never heard one person talk about them. So they're a black metal band out of the Philippines. This is their fourth album. I only have 3 of them, so I need to get their debut. Really cool, man. Nasty black metal. A lot of people say they hear, and I hear it a little bit too, to an extent. Like hear the early Greek. I definitely hear some early Greek black metal in there, but not strictly. They definitely have like their own thing going on. The lyrics about Philippine mythology, which is cool because I don't know anything about that. So it'd be cool to delve into these lyrics. And man, they're just a killer black metal band that more people need to listen to. If you like black metal, check them out. Just check them out. All right, now we're moving on to the CDs. My personal favorite format, as you know. And from 2022, I have the third album from Artificial Brain. Artificial Brain are a technical death metal band formed in 2011 in Long Island, New York. And they've been on my radar. They've been on my radar almost the whole time. They're just one of those bands I've never owned anything from. Every time they put something out, I check it out. I'm like, man, it's pretty fucking good. Technical death metal in the vein of like Demolic or Demolish. How do you pronounce that? I always say, I kind of go back and forth. Profound Lore Records. Yeah, if you like Demolic, man, I think you'd like Artificial Brain. If you like, if you like Blood Incantation, what other bands? I don't know. If you like that kind of death metal, Artificial Brain are really cool. I remember they played live near me some years back, 6 or 7 years ago, and I always regretted not going. And now that I finally have an album from them, maybe I'll start working my way back and getting their other 2 albums. Because like I said, I've heard them all. Haven't heard this one yet, but I think it'll be good. I have no doubt. I just got to get around to playing it. Maybe tonight. Whenever I say maybe tonight, I never do. Just to let you guys know. Literally never once. And the only other new release I'll be showing today is yet another band that's garnered some hype, and I've been paying attention and kind of listening, but I've never owned anything from. So we're talking about Temple of Void, Summoning the Slayer. Look at that artwork, guys. So killer, very kind of Lovecraft-esque. And before I even get into this, first of all, I think this is their first album for Relapse Records. Correct me if I'm wrong. You got to see the artwork in its entirety. I actually want to scan this and make like a print, because check this out. That And I'm a sucker for this kind of shit. This is all one piece. It's amazing. The Lovecraft fan in me is just, I'm jizzing right now. I've been nonstop jizzing since I've owned this. Haven't listened to the album yet. So Temple of Void are a doom death band, very very hefty doom death. They formed in 2013 in Detroit, Michigan, and this is their first or fourth album. Like I think it's their first for Relapse. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Yeah, so they've garnered hype probably since their first album, which is cool. As I've said many times, people have no attention span anymore, so it's cool for a band to be on their fourth album and still be garnering hype. I've always meant to grab an album from them. To be honest, I've only heard really 3 or 4 tracks over the years, if that. I like what I've heard, and I've always wanted to grab something, so I'm glad to have this. I don't really hear anyone talking about this album, because like I said, people's attention span, I think even their last album, I don't think I heard too much about that, but the album before that, people were talking, and I don't know, I don't care about hype and popularity. It's just, they're a band I've always wanted to check out, and when I really want to check out a band, and they're kind of in the back of my mind, I have to buy an album, so I'm glad to finally have something from them. Then we have a very oddball release. This is a band I like a lot. I've been listening to this band at least 15 years, so maybe 20. Never owned anything from them, which is kind of stupid because they're an important band in the extreme metal world, especially in the U.S. like early death grind. We're talking about Nuclear Death. Amazing death grind band. Their early stuff was almost like proto-war metal. They formed in 1985 and they split up around sometime after 2000 or so. And I got an oddball here. I have their fourth album from '96. It's called The Planet Cachexial. Now I've heard this before, and I'll admit I kind of mostly bought it just because it was sitting there in front of me. I've heard this before. This is not an easy listen. Their first 3 albums are just killer death grind. This is like abandoning almost all those elements. If you were a big fan of that debut album, almost none of that, if any at all, is here. This was pretty much a Lori Bravo side project at this point. She was the singer, and she played guitar or bass. I can't remember, but anyways, this is pretty much like a Lori Bravo solo album. This is experimental. It still sounds like metal, and it still sounds like extreme metal, but it's very experimental. I mean, it doesn't sound anything like Nuclear Death. I don't even know. I would have no comparisons, and that is kind of a compliment to Lori, because she was clearly just doing what she wanted to do, what she was feeling inspired to do. This is just strictly experimental sounding music. That's all I really can say. If you like death metal, and if you like very experimental death metal, which I'll admit I'm not always on board with that kind of thing, but only if you like the most of experimental types of death metal would you even maybe be into this. But it's an oddball. Check it out. Check it out regardless, just to challenge yourself, I guess. So this is a 2021 re-release on Moribund Records. I think Moribund has put out some of their old stuff, right? I'm pretty sure they've re-released most of their back catalog. So weird album. Is it something I needed to buy? Probably not. I mean, I might only listen to this 2 or 3 more times ever. And unless it really grows on me and I really find a way to attach myself to it, which I like challenging myself. I like listening to stuff that I know is going to be kind of going against the grain. It's fun to do. Maybe it's because I hate myself and I just like, putting myself through just sheer trials and tribulations. But I don't know. It's a weird one. Check it out, definitely, just to say you did. Now, this has been kind of a recent development of my musical tastes. I've known about this guy a long time, back when he was in a fairly popular band in the mid-90s. I've always liked the dude. He seems like a likable guy. He's talented as all hell. And I know it's gotten kind of cliche to talk about him being a musical genius, but I in no way disagree. He is, in fact, a musical genius. I'm not even going to debate that if anyone wants to try. We're talking about Devin Townsend. And I got a couple Devin Townsend albums. Now, you might know Devin Townsend from Strapping Young Lad, which was his not the first thing he did in music, but it might have been. I don't know. Anyways, that was like his early to mid 90s band. I think they even went to like early 2000s. They had some breaks, I think. But anyways, pretty popular. They were a pretty popular band. They were kind of like an industrial death metal, I guess you could call it. Kind of Fear Factory-esque, but different. They definitely were unique sounding. And I was never a big Strapping Young Lad fan. I never owned any of the albums. Maybe sometime in the near future I'll pick some up. I don't know. But lately I have been kind of checking out some of his stuff, some of his solo stuff, and I'm really fascinated by it. I really like what I've heard. And I don't know, it just kind of hit me one day. I don't even remember how it happened. I was like, dude, I have to get a Devin Townsend album. I don't know where to start, and I don't really care. I just want to grab something and dive into it. So, if you're not real familiar with Devin, he has 3 different musical outlets currently. He's got Devin Townsend Solo, Devin Townsend Project, and the Devin Townsend Band. Why any of that? I can't explain any of that, but that's what he does. And we'll just start with this Devin Townsend album, so solo, I guess. And this album is his 8th album from 2019, titled Empath. And from what I've heard, this is a massive, massive album, massive undertaking. It's 2 discs. Although 1 disc, I guess, is demos, so that might not count. But I've heard this is a massive album. So he tends to, when you get a Devin Townsend album, from what I'm noticing is a massive variety of sounds. Not typically like one sound, like, oh, here's a rock album, here's a death metal album, here's a jazz album. You get like all that in a blender, all of his influences. He's a super creative guy. He seems like a really, really good guy. And like I said, he is no doubt a musical genius. I'm sure there'll be someone jumping on here like, I don't get it. And that's fine. You don't have to get it. And I might not even get it either, but he's a musical genius. And like I said, it's not even up for debate. What I like about him is he plays by his own rules. He only does what he wants to do, and it's just awesome. I've heard great things about this album. I'm really looking forward to getting into that. And I also picked up from this is from the Devin Townsend Project. This is Epicloud, his 5th album from 2012. Both of these Devin Townsend albums have guest vocals by Annika van Giersbergen from The Gathering. So I take it they're friends, and she might guest on other stuff too. It's just funny that she guests on both of these albums, both the ones that I grabbed. Now, from what I've heard and what I've read, his albums do they do kind of have themes. I've heard this one is more upbeat, bouncy, and more happy sounding for the most part. That's what I've heard. That's what I've read. This album is kind of known for the track, you might have even heard it, called Lucky Animals. Not so much for the song itself, which it is a good song, but the music video. The video's got like almost 1 million views on YouTube, and it's just awesome. Just check out the Lucky Animals video. Odds are, even if you aren't a Devin Townsend fan, you've probably seen the video. That's how viral it went. Is that a word that we use? Viral. We're still using that? Is that what the kids are doing? But anyways, I'm really excited. I can't even really put into words the way I've been feeling lately. I always go with my instincts, and I've just lately been drawn, due to whatever emotions I'm feeling lately or whatever's going on with me right now, I feel drawn to Devin Townsend and his music, and I can't guarantee that I'm going to love it. His albums, for me, will be growers. I doubt I'll like them right away, because it's so far outside of my wheelhouse that it's going to be a challenge. Again, I like challenging myself musically, but I feel very drawn to just him as a person, and I'm stoked to dive into his music. I've been wanting to do it for probably a good year or so at this point. So, anyways, what do you guys think about Devin? Do you like anything he's done? Do you like everything he's done? Do you like Strapping Young Lad? What's up? What's up, bro? Anyways, last thing I have here is Emerson, Lake and Palmer, The Birth of a Band, Isle of Wight Festival, Saturday, August 29th, 1970. Dual disc. You might have seen dual discs on my channel. There aren't many. I think the only other one I have is that Judas Priest album, the one when Rob returned. So a lot of history going on with this album, and that makes it really cool. So if you're not kind of sidetracking here, if you're not real familiar with dual discs, they made these in the early 2000s. They were double-sided discs. They're a little bit thicker than a typical CD, and they're cool. They didn't last long. You'll have on one side you'll have a CD audio, and on the other side you'll have a DVD. Pretty cool, I guess. Anyways, back to the music here. This is a very historic album for numerous reasons. First being, this is the first live appearance of Emerson, Lake and Palmer ever. The Isle of Wight Festival was a massive, massive festival in England. The promoters basically wanted it to be the British Woodstock, and it really worked. I guess it was huge. I don't know how many years it went for, but this was the third year that they did it. They did it annually, and so Emerson, Lake and Palmer, they had just started. They had just formed. They were kind of a super group at the time because they had all three of them had been in other bands, other fairly prominent bands. They had just formed in April of 1970. This was in August. They didn't even have an album out yet. Their debut album would come out in December of 1970. So 1970, massive year for them. They blew up pretty quickly. Their performance went over really well at this festival. So what I've been reading about, I don't think this is the entire show, which I don't know why they did that, because I've read that they played The Barbarian, which is a really cool track off their debut, and it's not on here. But what you do get one song from their debut, Take a Pebble, that would come out. Hadn't been out yet at the time of this show, and they played a cover from, or maybe even two songs. I can't remember. They played some stuff from Keith Emerson's the band that he was in before this, which is not a band I'm familiar with. And they also played Pictures at an exhibition, which they would actually go on some years after this. They would play that piece of music in its entirety, the Pictures at an exhibition. They'd play it in its entirety live, and it's so fucking killer. They would play that through the ELP filter, and it's fucking awesome. So the DVD, you get surround sound, brand new interviews with the guys, got some live video footage from the show. That's also cool, and really cool find. I'm not a massive ELP fan. I do like them. I do pick up everything from them that I can find. I have most of the stuff that they've done that's good. But they're not one of my favorite prog bands. They never have been, but they are fucking awesome. Carl Palmer is one of my favorite drummers. He's incredible. I love Greg Lake, his work in King Crimson. I'm a bigger King Crimson fan, definitely, than ELP, but I don't know, man. I think I could like ELP more in the future. They just, out of all the prog giants, they're one of the bands that have taken the longest for me to come around to. They're still awesome, and I still do like them a lot. But anyways, guys, that's all I got. That was fun. That was a lot of stuff that I wanted to show. I have more music coming in the mail soon, but I didn't want to wait. I need to do a new stuff video with my movies, because I bought a fuckload of movies. As you know, I've been buying a lot of movies. I've potentially more into movies now than I've ever been in my entire life, and I'm having a blast with that, because life sucks, and I need to I need to do something with my brain. I'm constantly needing to be like taking in, some kind of art. So that's kind of what keeps me going, really, to be honest. But I need to do that because my stack is getting huge. So I should probably do that next. Still, god damn it, I'm still working on my LLN video, the ever elusive LLN video that it will see the light of day. To be honest, I'm learning about myself that I don't like these long, drawn out projects. I tend to like lose interest in doing something that takes too long to do. I much prefer videos that I can knock out in a day, and I'm not just because I'm lazy, but I mean I genuinely enjoy that more. I don't know. I just at this point want to just get it finished because it's a cool video. I don't know how well it's going to go over here on YouTube. Most stuff that I do that is kind of outside of my wheelhouse, I guess you could say, never really goes over very well, but I don't care. I need to keep doing stuff that is different and more like artistically rewarding, I guess you could say. Because I'm not a painter, I can't draw, I don't play instruments. I genuinely enjoy talking about music and movies, and that's one of the things in life that really keeps me going. And as well as you guys, I do this. A huge part of why I do this is to talk to you guys. I don't have a lot of friends, and I especially don't have a lot of friends that like shit that I like. So I need you guys. So I do appreciate some of you. Have been commenting on my videos almost since day one. So I'd also encourage you to look me up on Instagram if you have Instagram yourself. I've left links here and there, but I don't do it too often. I'll leave a link down below. If I forget, just look me up. Just look up Dark Hymns from the Cold North on Instagram. Add me and talk to me because I love you guys. So, anyways, that's all I got for now. I could keep going, but I need to stop. I gotta go to bed. Louis says hello. He's been chilling. He's been eavesdropping. He's been photo bombing, video bombing. But anyways, thanks for stopping by as always, and we will talk soon. Cheers.